Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian. Welcome back to the channel, Ian the Reader. Today, we're gonna be talking summer reading recommendations. I feel like the month of summer is such a great time to get more into reading. Especially like as a kid, like I would tear through some books during the summer. It was amazing. But in addition to that, it's just so great in the heat of the day to just immerse yourself in a reading experience that'll just take you away to somewhere much more chill. So let's talk about my recommendations for summer reading. So when I think about books that you read during the summer, there are really three kind of approaches that come to mind for me. The first of those is something very light and easy to get into. So that's one. Two, you've got the long book that you've been putting off for a long time. You've got the summer month, you're gonna finally commit to reading those. And three, I feel like it's a coming of age story. Like nothing says summer to me like a good coming of age story. So we're gonna be talking about all three of those different types of books today with recommendations for all of those. Let me know in the comments below though, what is your favorite book that you've read during the summer months? Or is like there a certain book that really reminds you of summertime? Because there are definitely some of those for me and I'm excited to share them with you all today. So first, let's go ahead and talk about those light, kind of like fluffy, or not even fluffy, but really easy to get into and to read very quickly types of books. So with these, I typically feel like it falls into two genres in particular, those being mystery thriller and contemporary romance. Those are like the two that I feel like are the easiest to get into. I have some recommendations for both genres. Let's talk about it. I'm actually gonna be talking about quite a few authors as well. There's some authors that I feel like just really lend themselves to summer reading. So let's go ahead and talk about the first one. That is TJ Newman. Oh my gosh, these books are so much fun. So good, so fast-paced, such easy thriller reads. I love them so much. So TJ Newman was actually a flight attendant for quite some time, and so a lot of her books, actually all of them at this point, she has a third one coming out soon as well that is also around planes. So this first one, Falling, is incredible. This is her debut novel, and it centers around a plane that has been taken hostage, in that the pilot finds out just as they're taking off that his family is being held hostage and he needs to crash the plane if he wants them to live. That's insane, isn't it? So oh my gosh, this book was so intense and so freaking good and such an easy read to get into. I feel like it is perfect for summer. The vibes of the cover really look summery too, but then additionally, it's just so snappy, so quick, and fantastic. Same goes for Drowning, although this one is definitely a little bit different. This one involves a plane that crashes, or ditches, I think that's what they say it's called in the book, but ditches into the ocean, and so the plane crashes and it's sinking, and it's a rescue mission trying to save this flight that has crashed, the survivors, all that. So you follow the people that are on the plane, and then you follow the people who are trying to find and save them. So both of these books, absolutely fantastic, perfect books for summer, very thrilling, very good. Love it. Like I said, she also has a third book coming out this summer. I think it's called Worst Case Scenario. I don't know too much about it, but I'm in. I'll read anything she writes. Another author I want to recommend is S.A. Cosby. So this is All the Sinners Bleed. This one in particular really gives me summer vibes, not only for the cover, but I believe it also takes place around the 4th of July, or around the summer month. And this is so great. S.A. Cosby's books are another author who just, he's so good. He's so thrilling and gripping. He has 4 main novels out, those being Blacktop Wasteland, Razorblade Tears, All the Sinners Bleed, of course, and then My Darkest Prayer. I believe those are all 4 of his books, and all of them are great for summer. He follows really, really gritty characters. I feel like his characters, especially in Blacktop Wasteland and Razorblade Tears, they are anti-heroes, if I have ever read any. So I love his books. All the Sinners Bleed in particular is really interesting. You follow a sheriff, I believe he's a sheriff, maybe a chief of police, but no, I think he's the sheriff, but he is over this town that historically does not favor people of color, and he is a person of color who has been voted sheriff somehow. So you've got racial tensions going on. At the very beginning of this book, though, a tragedy takes place, and a student who seems to be a terrorizer ends up being revealed to be a victim of sorts, and the mystery kind of unravels from there. There's also like a serial killer in this one. It is so intense, really, really good. I love S.A. Cosby's writing. He is phenomenal. Blacktop Wasteland and Razorblade Tears, also those 3 in particular, absolutely fantastic. Blacktop Wasteland follows a getaway driver who is trying to lead a good life, but ultimately gets pulled back in for one last job. And then Razorblade Tears is amazing as well. It follows 2 middle-aged men whose sons are killed and their plot for revenge. Oh my gosh, S.A. Cosby, you guys, read his books. now. They're so good. I love them all. Great for summer. One other mystery thriller author that I do want to recommend is Riley Sager. So he is great for summer. A lot of his books take place during the summer, I feel like, but my absolute favorite Riley Sager book takes place at a summer camp. So you can't get more summer vibes than that. That book is The Last Time I Lied. This is not most people's favorite, but it's my favorite. And it's so good. You've got a main character who went to a summer camp when she was younger, and while she was there, her 3 best friends disappeared. They vanished, and she knows something about it, but she hasn't told anybody. And now it's the present day, and she gets pulled into being a camp counselor at the same camp and starts finding out more things about what happened all those years ago. So that one is amazing. Other great summer ones, you've got The House Across the Lake, very summery, absolutely. His newest one, Middle of the Night, which comes out in June, is also set during the summer. Have a little bit of mixed emotions about that, but a lot of his books, like I said, take place during the summer, and for the most part, they're really good, very gripping and engaging, have great mysteries at their heart. I do have a video where I review and rank all of Riley Sager's books. I'll go ahead and link that down below, but he's a great author to get into during the summer. Really lots of fun, like, summery vibes for his books. Like I said, I think almost all of them take place during the summer, so I don't know if that's on purpose or if it just happened, but yeah, really great for summer. Absolutely give Riley Sager a try. Moving into the more like contemporary romance books, I have some authors to recommend. The first of those is Abby Jimenez, particularly her Part of Your World trilogy, which is Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer, which obviously Just for the Summer is the main one that I'm talking about when I'm thinking summer vibes. All of these are really fun, very light, but they have some great characters and some great discussions of like trauma and different relationship scenarios and personal scenarios that I feel like are delved into really nicely, and her character work is really excellent. As far as like romantic comedies or like contemporary romance authors go, I think Abby Jimenez is probably my favorite at the moment. She just writes really well, and I find her stories to be really engaging. So definitely recommend the Part of Your World trilogy. I feel like an obvious author to recommend, but one that I feel like I should nod as well is Emily Henry. She has some great summer books, those being particularly like Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation is pretty good, Happy Place, Book Lovers, I mean all of them really, but the 2 that are like the most summery you're gonna find are Beach Read and probably Happy Place. So all of those are really pretty fun. I really enjoyed Beach Read. That's actually my favorite of Emily Henry's books. I have not read her newest one, Funny Story, but I do hope to read that this summer at some point. So Emily Henry is a great author to get into as well, but I feel like that's such an obvious pick. So I would lean more towards Abby Jimenez, but both of them are pretty great. And then one author that I guess kind of falls into romance, depending upon the book, completely different vein though, he's not really contemporary romance as much as he is like literary, is Caleb Azuma Nelson. So he has 2 novels out right now, first of which is Open Water. This one is definitely pretty summery. It's about 2 people of color falling in love in London, and it is just some of the most beautiful writing you could ever possibly read. It reads like poetry, but in the best way. So lyrical, so incredible. And then he has another novel called Small Worlds, which is set across different summers, so very summery vibes, and it is just a beautiful story about love, but also about like the father-son relationship, about music, about dancing, about summer, about life. Small Worlds and Open Water are both incredible books to read during the summer, and they're also very short, so I feel like these are the perfect novels to pick up during summertime. Really fantastic. Did want to also shout out 2 other books really quick that I feel like kind of fall into the more light reading or like quick reading books, but aren't necessarily like coming of age stories or fall into those genres. The first of those is Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. This is a really fun, kind of episodic sort of science fiction story following a retired superhero living on a space station, and that's what it's about. It's about this really cool character, Rohan, who is just kind of trying to keep everything running smoothly. He actually really doesn't want to be doing superhero stuff, but he keeps getting pulled into it because of his history and what the sentient ship knows about his history. So this is a really fun book. I have a review for it from like 2 years ago that I'll link down below if you want more of my thoughts. Oh, I need to continue that series. There are 4 books out, and I've only read the first one, but I own books 2 and 3. Maybe this will finally be the summer where I take my own advice and read those. I hope so, because the first one was a lot of fun. And the last, like, random book I want to recommend is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is an incredibly popular YA book. The back says, "We are Sinclairs, no one is needy, no one is wrong. We live, at least in the summertime, on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. Perhaps that's all you need to know, except that some of us are liars." And that's all I'm gonna say about this. I haven't read this in probably almost 10 years. Since it came out, really, and I was a much different reader at the time, but it's one that I remember fondly. Back in like 2015, it made my top 10 list. I'm scared to reread it, but it definitely has the summer vibe. So it's quite short as well. I think it's only barely over 200 pages. Yeah, it's like not even 250 pages. So maybe I'll pick it up again this summer and see if I still enjoy it, but definitely has the summer vibes with it being like on an island during the summertime. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but I recommend this book. Okay, now we're gonna shift into the kind of like coming of age story, which a couple of those almost fall into that category, and you'll find that a lot. Like some of these kind of bleed in one direction or the other, kind of like almost the mystery thriller stuff, or almost a coming of age story, but one of the other genres, and yada, yada, yada. But all of these are books that I recommend for summer. Let's talk about the coming of age stories. First up is Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. This is a fantastic coming of age story with a mystery background. Basically, this takes place over one summer, and there are a multitude of deaths that take place in this small town over the summer, and you're kind of built with this anticipation because at the very beginning he basically says, they find a body, and he says like this was the first of the like 5 deaths that would take place that summer. So the whole time you're thinking, okay, there's going to be 4 more deaths. Who the heck is it going to be? And then when you find out who dies, it's very intense. There are a lot of emotions involved, but it is very much about this boy who loses his innocence this summer after the things that take place in his town. The mystery is great. There's a lot of heart here, a lot of really intense emotions. I love William Kent Kruger. I feel like this book is a great summer read. Ordinary Grace is a 5-star for me. It made my top 10 list of last year, which I'll leave a link to that video down below as well if you want to get other recommendations. But Ordinary Grace, a great place to start with this author as well. He's got a handful of standalones that of the ones I've read are fantastic. And then he has a long running like 20 book series called the Cork O'Connor series, which is like a mystery detective series that I've read the first book of and really enjoyed. But I think Ordinary Grace might be my favorite by him thus far. Either that or this Tender Land. So really great author. Highly recommend this coming of age story. Then we have Boy Swallows Universe. This is one of my favorite books of all time, like probably top 10. And I don't know that everyone will feel that way, but it is a beautiful book. This is set during summertime in Australia in the 1980s, and it is a full-on coming-of-age story with also some like thrills in there thrown in, also a little bit of magical realism, and just so much heart. My gosh, Trent Dalton has like the most heart of any writer I've ever read, probably. I've read this book and then his other novel, All Our Shimmering Skies. He's got some other stuff that's published as well, but Boy Swallows Universe is my favorite by him. Like I said, this is set in the 80s in Australia, so a really fun time period and setting, and the character work here is unbelievable, like so good. His writing is so full of wonder, like he truly captures the sense of childlike wonder in his books. This one, as well as All Our Shimmering Skies, are both great for summer, but I particularly recommend Boy Swallows Universe because I want everyone to read it. There's also a Netflix adaptation that I haven't watched yet, but I've heard really good things about, so maybe this will be the summer that I reread Boy Swallows Universe and then end up watching the show. But if you take any recommendation away from this, maybe read Boy Swallows Universe because it's so good. It is so good. This novel is dear to my heart, in case you haven't noticed. So amazing coming of age story. So good. Next up, we have one that I would consider to be like a quintessential summer book, and that is Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. This is another coming of age story following a boy growing up in summertime. I want to say this takes place in like the 60s. Yeah, 1964. And it's a small town in Alabama, but there is some stuff going on in that town that is not good. I have not talked to anyone who has not loved this book. I know that there are people out there, but they're wrong. Boy's Life is incredible. If you haven't read this one, this is a great place to start with his books and an amazing summer read. I love it. 2 other coming-of-age stories that I have not read yet, might read this summer, but I definitely have heard really good things about are Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. This is another one of those that's like a quintessential summer book. And then this is one I found recently called The Last Child. There's still the half-price book clearance sticker on it, by John Hart. So both of these, I don't know too much about either of them. I know this one is basically just like a summer book with maybe some magical realism vibes, and then this one is more of the mystery side. I think a young boy's twin sister disappears, and now he's trying to figure out what happened to her. So both of these, very summery, definitely recommend. And lastly, I wanted to recommend some long books that I think are absolutely great for summer. Again, I think summer is a great time to get into a really lengthy book that you've been putting off the rest of the year, and so I have 4 recommendations for you for long books to try to read this summer that have really summery vibes to me, at the very least. Let's talk about them. First up, I had to give a Stephen King recommendation. It's It by Stephen King. Obviously, this is incredibly long. I have my hardcover over here, which is a behemoth. I didn't want to dig it out from under there, but this is over 1,000 pages and pretty much any edition you get. But it follows a group of friends as children and then again as adults as they face this great terror in this town, Pennywise the Clown. And this is everything. It's a coming of age story, it's a horror story, it's an epic, it is beautiful. So good. Maybe my favorite Stephen King book. It's like top 2, and I go back and forth between 1 and 2 all the time, but it cannot be overhyped, in my opinion. I know some people feel differently, but it is the Stephen King book for me. So good. I love it so much. Read it. It's the perfect time. Read it. Next we have Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is another one. I have a hardcover up there, but I don't want to hold it up. So Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove is one of the best books of all time. One of the greats, in my top 3. Fantastic. And it's about a cattle drive across America, but has perhaps the best character work I've ever read. Maybe. Again, I know this is a very long book. It's close to 1,000 pages. I don't think it is. It's like around 800, 900 pages. And I know that on the surface, it doesn't sound interesting. It's about a cattle drive. And it's a Western. Neither of those things sound good to most people, but believe me, please, when I say this is some of the best character work you will ever read. And somehow the story just comes alive. Even though it's a dry and barren wasteland and the things that are happening shouldn't be all that interesting, it is. It's so compelling. One of the most compelling long books I've ever read. Perfect for summer, amazing character work, and you've got like this Western vibe that totally works for summer. Read Lonesome Dove and then recommend it to everyone you know, please, for the love of God. Just 2 more books. Next we have The Lincoln Highway by Immortals. This is a coming of age story, road trip, mystery almost kind of story, and it takes place in 1954, and another one that has just some of the most unique and fun characters that I've ever read. And it's a road trip book. Like, I feel like there had to be at least one road trip book on this list, because what's more summery than a road trip? Come on. And this is a great place to start with Immortals. He's also known for A Gentleman in Moscow. That one in particular, I think, is his most popular. But then Rules of Civility, and then he just had a collection come out called Table for Two. That's the only book by him I have not yet read, but The Lincoln Highway may be my favorite book by him. It is so good. It's a bit long. I think it's around 600 pages, but so fantastic. The writing is incredible. He's such a knowledgeable writer, I feel like. When you read his books, it's an interesting balance because they feel really intelligent, but the dialogue is so snippy and fantastic and readable, and Immortals is fantastic. I recommend starting here. Got such good summer vibes. Really good. I love The Lincoln Highway. Read it. My last book recommendation is maybe the longest. I think it's the most literary of all the books that I've recommended today, but I love it. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 2014. That book is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is a dense book at times, but it is so good. We follow a main character named Theo, whose mother is killed in a terrorist attack at the very beginning of the story while they're in an art museum, and he, in the heat of the moment, for some reason decides to snatch this painting off the wall, and it goes from there. But it's about it's like an epic journey for some reason. Like, he is then kind of moved around a lot, and he ends up going to Las Vegas and living there with his kind of deadbeat dad for a while. It's about his friendships, about his growing up, and then about at the halfway point, it moves ahead to when he's an adult, and things go from there. So it's a coming of age story, but it's also just about a man. And it's about grieving and about life and about growing up. And the reason in particular I recommend this for summer is really the Las Vegas scenes. It's just so dry and dusty and like sepia toned. Something about it just feels like summer to me, and I think it's a great time to read it. I want everyone to read The Goldfinch. I know that Donna Tartt is very, very popular for The Secret History. I think The Goldfinch is better. The Secret History is great, don't get me wrong, and I've tried to read The Little Friend. One day I will, but The Goldfinch in particular, I highly, highly recommend. It's a great book for summer. Perfect time to get into this big, chunky boy, and yeah, that's that. That's it for this video, though. Let me know if any of these recommendations really stuck out to you, if there are any that you might try to read this summer, or like I said, what your favorite summertime book is, because I want more summery books to read during this year. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got videos coming out every week, and I would love it if you stuck around. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.